Alright, welcome back to X-Plane 12. It's been quite a while since I've done an X-Plane video, but as you can see, we are back in the Rotate MD-11F for Martinair cargo, which is busy being loaded up. We're on the stand at Nairobi International in Kenya, and we've got about a 3.5-hour flight from here in Nairobi down to Johannesburg, South Africa. So our aircraft is busy being loaded up, and we're going to be taking this cargo down to South Africa. So I'm going to try my best. As I said, I haven't flown X-Plane for quite a while, so I want to get back into flying the MD-11 and the A340-600 from Toliss. So the plan for today's flight is to jump into the MD-11 and try and go through as detailed a procedure set as possible. So we'll see how that goes. So our cargo, I think the cargo gets loaded a little bit quickly, but also I don't think anyone wants to sit here and wait 2 hours for them to load everything up. So that does kind of make sense. But that's the plan for today. Let's jump aboard and start getting things set up. So I'm going to go through, I've got the procedures in front of me here on my iPad, and I'm going to try and go through this in as much detail as possible. There's definitely going to be things that I don't know where to find. So hopefully over the course of flying the MD-11 a bit more, I can get more familiar with where these things are and kind of learn as we go. So first thing we want to check is we're going to make sure that the weather radar is switched off, which it is. Fuel switch is off. Parking brake set. Spoiler and flap handles. So that should be up and flaps should be up, which they are. Gear handle should be down. And this is interesting because in a previous flight I actually spawned somehow with the gear lever up, and I didn't notice until I pushed back. So that's why the check is here. Although obviously in reality, the aircraft doesn't spawn in every time you need to fly it. But yeah, that is something that I do need to check because it's happened to me before. Okay, fuel dump and manifold drain switches. We need to make sure that those are guarded and safety. So that's these and this one. Well, that one and that one. Okay, so that's good. Then emergency power selector off. Battery switch we can now switch on. Okay, external power, we have ground power, so we're going to accept that. Okay, observe the on light. AC, DC 1, 2, 3, off lights extinguish, cool. And then generator 1, 2, 3, arm lights illuminate. So those are here, 1, 2, 3 in blue, so that's good. And then all bus off lights extinguish. So that looks fine. Okay, cool. So I think we're good there. Okay, engine APU fire test switch. So for that, we need to come back here and press this guy.
Engine 1 fire. Engine 2 fire. Engine 3 fire. Engine 1 fire. Engine 2 fire.
Cool. So what you're supposed to do, I believe, is while you're holding the button, is press the master warning button, but we can't really click on two things at the same time. Okay. APU will start up a little bit later, so we can move on. Annunciator light test. So first, we verify that the trim air off lights is extinguished, which is here somewhere. There we go. So that is extinguished. Push and hold the left test button. So that's this one.
Overspeed.
Make sure that all comes on.
Overspeed. Overspeed. Overspeed.
And then we need to see
Overspeed.
air system test illuminates over there, so that's good. Okay, if we're going to use the APU for or if the APU air is going to be used, we can turn this on. Now It doesn't say, so it seems like we can do that even though we haven't started the APU yet. Okay, now we're going to do the IRSs to nav and make sure we get the cargo fire test. There we go. So that's good. Right, then we can come down here and get the IRS aligning. So we go here, we can initialize that. Cool. Okay, voice recorder, let's test. So that should go up into the green, which it does. Okay, cargo temperatures. That's fine, we can leave it in the default positions. Okay, engine ignition off is illuminated, that's checked. Hydraulic control panel should be in auto mode, which it is. 1, 2, 3 pressure lights illuminate, yes. And then we can press the test switch. Oops, not that. Just want to close that. And see that it says that down here. Yes, it does. Cool. Okay, electrical control panel. Smoke, electrical air is normal. Yes, it is. No, I lost my place. Here we go. Then, drive 1, 2, 3 and cab bus switches are guarded. 1, 2, 3 cab bus. Yes. Emergency power selected to arm. And observe the off light extinguishers. On lights for approximately 30 seconds and then goes off. Does it say anything? No. Aha, cool. It's done. Okay, air conditioning panel. That's all fine for now. Obviously, we have no passengers. That's why I'm not too worried about getting the air cons on straight away. Okay, fuel control in auto. And I think that's it. Yep. Emergency light switch to arm. And C. Oh, right, we have to push and hold the test button and see. Emergency license test pass. Cool. Release the test switch and it should go away, which it has. Okay. Cockpit lighting is fine. We're flying throughout the duration of the flight will be in daylight, so the lights are cool as they are. Okay, no smoking and seatbelt signs to auto. And well, we'll do seatbelts to on, even though we don't have passengers, just as an indication. Okay, exterior lights. Beacon is off, strobes are off, logo we don't need, so it's just the nav lights that are on, so that's fine for now. Okay, then we come up here to the GPWS and verify that the terrain override switch is not in override. So that would be override, so it isn't. And observe the mode box if terrain is not displayed. I think this is one of the tests that doesn't actually work. Okay, if terrain is not displayed, push the weather radar switch. See, because that goes into weather. And then verify that terrain is displayed. So I could never get this to say terrain because I don't think it has a terrain radar. Okay, so we'll just count that as test. Momentarily hold the GPWS in test and check that we get the oral announcements and all of that. So we need to come back up here. Flip this up.
Glide slope. Pull up. Terrain.
There we go.
Pull up. Sink rate.
Okay, so that's tested. Okay, then the AFSCP, Automatic Flight System Control Panel. Verify the flap limit and elevator field selectors are in auto. Check and check. and all lights are extinguished. Good. Cabin pressure should be in auto. Cabin controller is in auto. How do we... Oh, yes, that would be manual. Okay, cool. And then all lights should be extinguished. Press the fuel used reset button, which is here. Cool. Anti-ice we don't need, but we need to turn the defog on. And that's good. Okay, then we come down here to the glare shield. Make sure that we have this set correctly, which we do. And let me actually check the weather for Nairobi. So our meta for today gives us a QNH. Marginal VFR. Broken clouds at 2,100 feet. Ready? Okay. It's 22 minutes old. Seems a bit not so true. Okay, but we have a QNH of 1024. Okay, that's set. Okay, and then it says set minimums to the radio position, which it is. Okay, then heading to magnetic, set traffic data, all of this stuff. What do we need here? We can turn that on. I think that's pretty much all we need for now. Okay, that should say 250. And I think that's cool at this point. Oh, and then make sure that that says 10,000. So that's all default. Now, there's quite a lengthy thing for the oxygen and oxygen mask testing. I'm going to leave that out because obviously that's very difficult to do in the simulator. We can't actually test the oxygen mask. So I'm going to leave the oxygen testing thing out and we move on to this section down here. So, I mean, I guess we could do something simple like click on that and make sure that it discharges, but that's about all that we can do, I guess. Okay, then we need to check. This guy here should be set to... Oh, on the first officer side should be set to 2 and this side should be set to 1, so that's good. Static air is in normal. Yes, it is. Cool. Then, display units, we have everything we need. The clock is correct. Right. We have 3 greens. This is extinguished and guarded. Okay, this now we can dial to 1024 and uncage this guy. Then we need to test the takeoff warning system. So if we push these forward.
Stabilizer. Brakes. Full lap. Flat. Boiler. Stabilizer.
Cool, that works. And it should stop when we bring the throttles back. Okay, then if we go here, just make sure that all of this looks good. Quantity, that's fine. What else do they mention? We don't have any faults for electrical or air. That's cool. We do have doors open, so that's fine. Verify the fuel quantity. 39.5 is correct. And then if we go into config, make sure that there's no issues with any of the tires. Cool. Back to engine. And there, oh, the other thing I just needed to check was this and make sure that there's no warnings or anything there. We can go back to engine. And I guess we should probably do that for hydraulics as well, actually. So we just need to make sure that these quantities are good, which we saw on the other screen anyway, so that's cool. Okay, then that's fine. Again, then there's a whole procedure for setting up comms. We're not using ATC, so I'm going to skip that just to try and make this a bit quicker. Okay, I've never actually tried this, so now we need to test the radar. So if we dial this over to test, I wonder if we have to turn this on. Aha, there we go. Cool, so that is tested. Then we need to hold the TCAS test button, which is over here.
TCAS test pass.
Cool, that's good. Okay, then rudder and aileron trims are 0. ADG release handle, which is down here somewhere. I think that's it. Is full down. I don't want to click it in. Okay, that does look like it's down. Yes, okay, cool. Right, then we've got pretty much all the same stuff again for each of the pilots, but as part of the next one, which would actually be the captain, we need to go and set up flight plan. So let's go down here, and we are doing HKJK-FAOR. Okay, alternate for today is FBSK, which is Gaborone. Okay, flight number is, we are MPH85, and we're cruising at 34 and 36 today. So that's in. Cost index 25. Okay, taxi, we're going to put in 1 ton. Reserve today is 30. We'll put 32 or 3.2. Okay, that's good. And then this is all fine. So next we can come in here and let's set up the route. So let me just pull that up from Simbrief. Okay, so we are taking off from runway 06, and it is at Tudu 1 Delta. So we can put that in. Transition Lawson. Okay, insert that. Then we can go to Lawson and go airways. Okay, UM315. Oops. To TMA36. Is that an actual waypoint? Or is that just the point where we climb to 360? Because that's what it said earlier. I can... What happens if I put that in? I don't think this is an actual waypoint. Oh, it is. Okay. That's weird. Then we continue on UM315. So yeah, I don't know if I need to put this in to Usupi. UR409 to VMV. UP312 to GWV. So both of those, I can never remember the names, but these are both VORs in Zimbabwe. No, for NESAG we need UZ11. Yeah, you can't do another page, so we're gonna have to insert those. I just want to see what it did. So there's Lawson. Oh, so those TMAs are just waypoints. Looks like. Interesting. Can't remember. I'm gonna have to figure out. We need to tell it that at this point we want to be at 3.6. But we'll come and sort that out. Oh wow, it's putting our step climb all the way down here only. Okay, let's go to NESAG. UZ7. So NESAG is basically, if I remember correctly, it is actually the point at which you enter South African airspace. Oh man. Okay, UZ7. Concentrate. Okay. And from there we go to Ockpits. Okay, and then from Ockpit we start our approach. Or start our arrival, I mean. Okay, so it is probably 3 right. Yes. So we'll do 3 right Zulu. That one. And it's Ockpit 4 Alpha. That's correct. We can insert that. Okay, it's doing all of those calculations. Right, how do I tell it? At this point, we want to be at 360. Can we just do this? Why does that say top of descent? Okay, that is not right at all. See, I put it in correctly there. Okay, let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, so I haven't actually been able to find anything on how to set a step climb at a specific point. So I know, if we go back here, when you enter these cruise levels here, we can dial the selector, the altitude selector on the FCP up to the highest level, and the aircraft will step when it feels the time is right, basically. But what I wanted to do was enter a specific point for that step climb at, way before this actually, at TMA 36. If I put in 360 here, oh no, that's not what I wanted, that's the /360. It enters that correctly, but then everything else from there comes incorrect. The top of descent moves to before that point, which makes no sense. And then we basically start descending after that to be at 8,000 at the next waypoint, which makes no sense. So if I clear that, this kind of goes back to correct. So I guess we're just going to step climb at whatever point the aircraft feels is correct, which is way later in the flight. If we go here, you can see that our optimum and max level, optimum is 3.4 and max is 3.7. So we could, you know, technically go straight up to 3.6 to start with. So I don't know why having it climb to 3.6 at that point is an issue. So yeah, it's saying we're gonna step in 1,394 miles. So we'll see what happens, I guess. But I think we need to move on. So I'm done with all of this. Now we need to do takeoff. Now, getting out of Nairobi has been quite interesting when you're heavy, because if you look, we're at over 5,000 feet. Temperature is 21, so it's not super hot, but it's not cold either. So this is something I need to pay attention to. That was the wrong place. So we're 21. I'm going to keep this kind of low so we get as much power as possible. Okay, then the slope and the wind. So let's have a look at Nairobi. Okay, so wind today is 290. No, wind today is 050 at 10 knots, which is almost straight down the runway. And then runway 6 has a slope of minus 0.36. So we'll do minus 0.4, and the wind heading was 0.5, like so, and the outside air temperature is 21, and that gives us our V speeds, so we can dial this up to 176. Okay, so that's done. I think we are then good to go and continue with our prep. Oh, we need to make sure that this is actually dialed down to 15, which it is. Oh no, why did I put 176? Okay, V climb is 258. So we set this to 250, or so either 250 or V climb, whichever is higher. So 258 is higher. But that means we're going to be climbing over the speed restriction. So we're going to have to keep our slats out until we pass 10,000 feet, basically. Okay, verified taxi. Cool, that means our IRSs are aligned. Auto brake to take off. Now it's time to start the APU, which is very easy. We just click the APU button, but we should come here and we will just go to ground ops and let's get things closed up. Once the APU is running, we can ditch the ground power unit and the chocks. Right, and then the next steps are to get everything, or to actually get the aircraft pushing and starting up the engine. So we're basically at this point waiting for the APU to fire up so we can get out of here. Okay, while that's happening, we might as well go over here and have a look at our procedures for today. So I always like to do this in order. So the first thing we're going to need is the airport chart to taxi, and then the departure. And we are at no, I can't remember. We are at 221 Delta. It's the first one. So when you set up your charts for the arrival, you do it backwards. So star, ILS, and then airport, basically. Okay, so we are parked down here at the cargo apron and we're doing 06, so it's a really nice short taxi. So we want to push tail right and then we'll taxi apron, kilo, hold short, runway 06, nice and easy. and we are going out towards Lawson. Pretty simple. Right turn after departure to a to-do between 8-1 and 1-1, and then sharp right turn again to 208. Cool, that looks good. Transition is 9,000 feet, so I think I need to put that in here somewhere, like so. Cool, that's done. Did I arm this? That was the other thing I need to do. Okay, it sounds like the APU is up and running, which it is, so let's get rid of the external power. And we can tell them then to disconnect that, and we can release the chocks as well, and then we are ready to push. So we wanted to do tail right.
Hey, Captain, let me know where you want this thing.
So that we can taxi out that way. Something like that.
Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming.
Let's come down here and just check. Stabilizer 6 point.
All right, looks like the doors and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect. Welcome aboard, Captain. Tow's connected, bypass pins inserted. Go ahead and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go. Here comes the pushback. Light them up. Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake. And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
Okay, so I think I had my mic muted there for the beginning of the engine start. So just to repeat, we'll do engine starts. This is obviously the last engine we have to do. And we're looking for 15% over there on the N2. And at 15% we introduce the fuel. Okay, so there's 14 and flip that up. Right. That's it, that's fine. Cool. Our stabilizer trim was 6.2, so let's dial that in now.
And we're disconnected. Signaling pin on the right. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Okay, 6.2 set. Okay, anti-ice not required. We can now shut down the APU because our engines are stable. So that off and that off. Okay, flaps to 15. So 1, 2 clicks. Spoilers are armed. Okay, flight controls. So we come down here to config. Just check that that all works nicely. Cool. Stabilizer trim is set. Takeoff data is set. V speeds are done. So come down here. V1 148. Rotate 67. V2 71. Climb out at 258. But we'll only reach that after we pass 10,000 feet, which will come pretty quickly because we're already halfway there when we take off. Right, then I think we are good to go. Let's do taxi lights. I don't know if you actually do these during the day, but I generally just turn them on. I do leave the logo lights off though. Okay, let's get out of here. Okay, I also like to come and switch this off at this point because the taxi is very simple. If we had a more complex taxi, I'd keep that open with the chart. Okay, let's turn on the weather radar. Not that it looks like we'll be needing it anytime soon. Right, before takeoff, we'll make sure we've got a green box there, which we do. Nice short taxi, we're pretty much already at the runway. Okay, left turn here. Landing lights, strobes, these can come off, logo lights off, that's fine, beacon's already on. And then TCAS, TARA, and this can go back to engine. Right, now what you're supposed to do, my understanding from reading the manual, is push the throttles up to kind of the 12 o'clock position or something close to that. And then you click the auto flight button and it takes the control of the throttles and pushes them up to the takeoff position. That works, but sometimes it starts throttling back when you get like halfway down the runway, and I think it's to do with my hardware. So I don't know if that's an issue with the aircraft. I think it's actually to do with my controller, or to do with my throttle quadrant. So I'm going to push my throttles all the way up to that takeoff position. So if it does desync for whatever reason, we don't lose takeoff power, because I've gone off the end of the runway here before doing exactly that. And if I do lose takeoff power at any point during the takeoff roll, I'm going to abort. Obviously, we need to be prior to V1. Okay, here we go. Okay, there's V1. Looking good so far. So at this point we're going flying anyway. There's our rotate. Okay, positive rates. Gear can come up. We're 1,000 feet radio now. Let's get the autopilot on to help us. Pitch, nav, and takeoff is still on. That's cool.
Stabilizer motion.
Okay, that's the normal cutback to climb power. That's okay. Then we are speeding up to 250 knots now. Right, so we can bring the flaps up, keep the slats extended, auto brake can come off, and we can disarm the spoiler. Okay, we can retract the slats. Okay, I'm just going to set that to 245 so we don't pass the 250 restriction.
Stabilizer motion.
we passed 10,000 feet, so let's go back into let's go back to the FMS speed mode, which is cool. 323, that's fine, and landing lights can come off. I'm going to set standard as well because 9,000 was our transition. And we can also turn off the seatbelt sign. And now that we're up to speed, you'll see we climb like an absolute rocket. So we're over to almost 3,000, pretty much 3,000 feet a minute. 2.9, now we're at 3. Now it's just a case of climbing up to our cruise altitude and cruising along for the next kind of 3 hours down towards South Africa. Right, so I think I'm going to cut the video there, and then I will join you guys again when it's time to prep for our descent into Jomo. So we're coming up to our top of descent, so let's start going through our process for our arrival into Johannesburg. So we've got the ATIS. Let me just double check that it hasn't updated since I looked just now. Yes, it has actually. So winds 130 at 6 knots, pretty chilled. Cav OK 24 degrees 1024 QNH. Approach is programmed into the mass. So what I can do is come here. Let's get rid of these now and get our charts ready for Johannesburg. So first we're going to need the star. So that would be arrival. And we are cockpit 4 Bravo. Bravo, is it 4 Alpha? No, it's 4 Alpha. Okay, because we're coming in this one. Yes, 4 Bravo gives us 2-1. We're going to 0-3, so it's 4 Alpha. Okay, so after that, we then need approach, which is ILS Zulu 3 right. That one. Then we need the airport chart for our taxi. Okay, transition altitude, I think it's 10,000. No, set by ATC, okay. We'll just do 10,000 and that's fine. Right, so that's already programmed in. 250 max 210 over there. Let's double check that. Cool, that is there, and then obviously vectors at the end, which we'll just do for ourselves. Okay, if we go to our ILS, we're intercepting at 8,000. So we can dial this down to 8,000, and the aircraft will begin our descent at our top of descent over there, down to 1,000. Okay, frequencies, we need 109.1, 34 degrees. So let's come down here to the radio and dial in 109.10 and 34. Is it JNI? Yes. EKI is Kruger and Mpumalanga. Right, so I normally set the standby to the right QNH, and it already is because it was the same when we left. Okay, I'm going to set this to minimum, and I'll arm the speed brakes as well for landing so that that's all set. Okay, then decision height 5710 barrow. So we'll flip this over to barrow, and we're going to have to dial this pretty far, 5,710. Then for our taxi, so we're landing from here. We'll probably vacate here. The cargo apron is this. We normally park over there, maybe even further down. So we'll most likely do this either there or here, but either is fine because we can go straight on hotel across and into the bay. So that's pretty chilled. Okay, weather's done, FMS is done. We don't need anti-ice. Minimums is set, and we've looked at our approach and our taxi in. Okay, seatbelts at 15,000 feet, and we're good to go. So we should start descending in a couple of minutes now. Up to top of descent, so we'll just check that the aircraft starts descending shortly. Right, there we go. Crazy. See, this is what I was talking about when we took off as well. I think my hardware sometimes doesn't play so nicely. Yeah, now it's fine. Looking good, and we've started our descent. So next we're just keeping an eye for that 15,000 feet. In fact, we can probably just turn the seatbelts on at 10,000 feet. There are no passengers, because normally I do 15,000 to give the crew time to get everyone seated and secure the cabin when coming into Joburg, because it's so high. So, you know, if you start at 10,000 feet, we're landing at 5,500 feet. It doesn't give them much time. But of course, we don't have any passengers on this flight, so I'll just do the seatbelts at 10 with the landing lights and all of that. Let me look on the chart. Does this give us a heading? So we can dial it down to 211 because we basically want to follow that same course all for that same heading anyway. We'll just extend that out and then vector in. That's basically pretty much where we're facing now. Okay, so this is something that I find happens quite often in the end. Is we're now fast and above our profile, so we need to use a bit of speed brake to kind of control that descent. Pretty much back on the vertical profile now. Speed's coming down, just passing through 20,000 feet. There's 20,000. We're back on speed, we're back on profile, so I might just keep the speed brakes extended a bit, so we don't kind of run away again. Throttling up quite a bit now, so maybe let's release the speed brakes, just see what happens. Okay, our target speed is now dropped to 250 because of those restrictions on the waypoints. Not really slowing down, so we're going to bring the speed brakes back in, and there we go, we're getting the add drag symbol as well. Speed 15,000 feet. We seem to be well below the vertical profile, which is very interesting. But we're still descending at 1,000 feet a minute. Interestingly, I actually watched a video the other day with recording from inside the cockpit of an actual flight into Johannesburg. Can't remember which airline it was. I think it was an A350. It was either an A350 or a 777, but I can't remember which airline it was. And they actually turned the landing lights on over 15,000 feet because he said 10,000 feet above the airport elevation, which I hadn't actually heard of before, but does kind of make sense.
Stabilizer motion.
Okay, I think we can lose the speed brakes, and I'm going to put the slats out. That'll add a bit of extra drag as well. Just over 12,000 feet. So we're actually going to go past the airport. So if we look here, there's the airport there. We were coming down here somewhere. So there we are. Past the airport and basically beam that threshold. No, is that waypoint, and then we continue on. Will vector ourselves in. Okay, speed and profile all looking good. Could actually go flaps 15 at this speed as well, but we're only sitting, I don't know, 3.5, 4 degrees nose up, so I think it's fine without the flaps for now, because that's going to add a lot of drag. Let's come down here and double check. Flaps 35 landing, approach speed of 160. We've got plenty of fuel on board, just coming up to 11,000. So next would just be flaps already out. Slats already out. Next would be the flaps. ILS frequencies are set. Minimum is set, so we're pretty much good to go. Coming up to 10,000. Let's turn on the landing lights. And we will switch on the seatbelts as well. .245s. Okay, I'm gonna go flaps 15 now. Just see the airport there, yeah. And let's go into heading mode. speed now coming down to 210 as per the restriction. We should continue on straight, heading to 11 is set. I don't want our speed to come down that much though. We can stay at 210.
Stabilizer motion.
This little airport that we're going over, I think that's Benoni, or is it Springs? It is Springs. Benoni is actually just here on this side. Don't know if we can see that one yet. I think it might actually already be underneath us. And the ice cream truck always has to drive past while I am recording videos, naturally. Okay, let's start heading towards where we need to go. Right, looks like our localizer and our glide slope are both alive. Dial that around a bit more. Now I wonder, I don't actually know, can I go flaps 28 with the gear still up, or is it going to complain? So I'm going to slow down now shortly to 200 knots, which is below the flaps 28 extensions, but we're still not quite going to be on the ILS. In fact, what I do need to is start descending, because we're kind of matching the glide slope now, but it's because it's not really following our profile because we are doing the vectored section.
Altitude.
And let's go to 180 knots. Shortly. We can arm our approach, and there we have already captured the localizer, and I think we've captured the glide slope as well. Okay, so let's slow to 180. And I'm going to put the flaps down, and we'll see if it complains about having flaps 28 without the gear. So let's do it. Seems okay with it. Bring this down to our approach speed of 163. Double check that. 162. Okay, so we can actually do flaps 28 with the gear up. Okay, we're gonna go gear down now though. And flaps 35 for landing. So we'll wait for the gears to go green. Go flaps 35.
Stabilizer motion.
As we're starting to slow down. Okay, nose center.
Stabilizer motion.
Right and left. Flaps 35.
2500.
Okay, and the other thing I didn't actually do was this. That's now set. I actually find this plane quite difficult to land because of the automatic like retardation of the throttle. So we don't do anything with the throttle now, it's going to manage it complete. Even in the Airbus, it does the auto throttle all the way down until the flare, but then you tell it when to retard. But the MD-11 does it for you. So if your approach isn't perfect, it's gonna pull the throttle back at the same height. I think it's 30 feet or 50 feet. And so if you haven't got it quite right, it pulls that throttle back and you just drop onto the runway. Also, I felt like FS Realistic, I don't know if the MD has something built into it similar to FS Realistic, but the camera movement that you get, even with FS Realistic set to like 5%, seems very exaggerated. Because I always think, oh wow, I've thundered that into the runway, and you look and your landing rate's like 120 feet per minute. So we'll see if I can get this one right. Okay, I'm going to take control.
Autopilot.
So the key here is going to be not to flare too early, and then we actually have to flare pretty hard
400.
because it just drops the throttle.
Read minimum.
Terrain.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. 10.
Yeah, I see. Now that looks very hard, but we'll see what it was. Actually, I think it might have been pretty hard, to be honest. Oh, and this is the other thing. This doesn't seem to disengage itself. So yeah, I don't know. It feels like I pull the stick all the way back in the flare and you get no movement of the nose at all. So not sure what I'm doing wrong. Right, but here we are at our Tambo. Let's just turn that off. And we can do landing lights off. Spoilers disarmed. And this back. No, this one can go off. Did the spoilers actually disarm? No, they didn't have to do that. But we can do it quickly. There we go. Oh, and then of course, strobes off. Right, so there we are. Romeo Sierra, we're now on Yankee, left on Hotel all the way into the bay. Okay, spoilers are done, flaps are done, weather, radar and transponder done, auto brake done, stabilizer trim, we need to set to 3 currently. Ah, so I see, I've got a center of gravity disagree. I think that's what that stands for. Warning there. I wonder if the CG is the issue that's causing the flare to be so poor. Because if our center of gravity is wrong, then that could easily cause the nose to not want to come up. So that's something I need to check out for sure. Okay, lights are done, except we just need to have this at taxi instead of completely off. Anti-ice wasn't required. APU we're not actually going to start because we're going to have ground power at the stand. We'll go straight onto that. Parking brake, obviously we'll set that once to the stand. Okay, flight time 3 hours 41. Fuel. Yeah, I wonder what the center of gravity issue is about. I have to do some research on that one. I'll check my landing rate. Yeah, you see now that makes no sense. The landing rate says we touched down at -36. It's impossible. Maybe I should try to turn off, I keep saying FS realistic, it's XP realistic in X-Plane. And see if that's doing something weird, because that did not feel like -36 feet per minute at all. Unless we are touching down hard and just ACARS isn't recording it correct. Never had that issue on another aircraft. Okay, just turning off that taxi light. I reckon we take 40 over here. Okay, so once we park up, we'll set the parking brake and then just go into the tablet and request chocks and ground power and stairs and all of that. And then we can shut down the engines. Well, actually, we'll do the ground power first, because we don't want to have the air stairs connecting and that kind of stuff with the engines still running. So let's go brakes. Yeah, then we'll come over here. Ground ops. that. And then we can shut down all 3 engines. Like so. And then we can get chocks. Cockpit stairs. And cockpit door open as well. Okay, parking brake's done. Electrical power on the GPU. Anti-house was never on. Engines are now off. Seatbelt signs we can switch off. Exterior lights. Beacon can come off. Nav lights can stay on. Emergency selector power to off. Parking brake is set. IRS. We are done for today, so all 3 off. Okay, emergency lights off. APU is already off. And that's probably how we will leave it for now. I guess we can turn this off and we can turn that off too. We will leave it like that because I think we would keep it powered up while they go ahead and load and unload and stuff. And we'd have a bunch of other things to do. So there we are, safely arrived at Johannesburg International all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. So yeah, still a few things to learn in the MD, but the MD-11 has always been such a cool aircraft to fly. This is what so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into flying that. But that's going to bring us to the end of this video. If you did enjoy it, you know what to do down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.